This is Yeovil Cemetery in the county of Somerset in the southwest of the UK. I've never been here before, so we'll just take it as it comes. We'll just wander through and pick up anything interesting. It looks a very well kept cemetery from initial viewing. As with most cemeteries, amongst the older memorials, they're now infilling with newer graves. Space for cemeteries is becoming rather difficult. This one, which has been laid over for safety reasons, it's been done carefully and nicely. Sophia Krask, who died at Preston Close, Yeovil, 1907, aged 48 years. And then Frederick, beloved husband of Caroline M. Wilton. Close by is this larger one, but you can see the problems they have here. The ground is soft and it is tilting at a few degrees towards the path. And the inscription reads, "In remembrance of Rachel Fellows, who departed this life 1882, aged 87 years. Amongst the older stones is one of the CWGC memorials to those that died in the First War. This one's Private W.F. Sweet, Somerset Light Infantry, 1914, just 18. And the family have added the inscription beneath the cross, "Died for his king and country." This really is a well-kept cemetery. Grass is beautifully mown. Most of the stones are upright. A very pleasant spot. This is a most unusual design. It has the cross, and then it seems to be standing on four thin piers, and almost like a pole. And right at the bottom, on the left and right hand side, there appears to be the surname of Pierce, dated around 1880. Nearby is this cross, beautifully carved. The flowers are brought out in relief on the front of it, and on the left hand side you have the peace dove with a little olive branch in his mouth. Very nicely done. The one in the more red stone has an interesting inscription on its base. We come down to the middle section there. We read John Cameron Macpherson, Lieutenant Colonel, 42nd Royal Highlanders Black Watch, 1815 to 1899. Another very clever bit of stonework. There's a cross, and the angel with the wings open and carrying a wreath is brought out in relief on the front of it. It is all one piece of stone. It's not that the angel has been put on afterwards. Very nice piece of stonework. And if we scan down to the base, it seems to be William Bond. This is to Thomas Moffat, 1880, aged 45 years. Emma, the wife of James Moffat. James Moffat, who was actually cremated at Golders Green, and his ashes scattered there. Here we have a young lady with her finger pointing upwards. No wings, so I'm not going to call her an angel. Right hand pointing upwards, left hand on an anchor. And that's on top of a very large stone. And the inscription is Mary, the devoted and beloved wife of Joseph Penny of Yeovil and Brimmore. And some more information, or the letters are coming off on this particular one. But a magnificent statue, one of the tallest in the graveyard. And there she stands. Here you have the two chapels of rest. When they were originally erected, they would have been one for the Church of England and the other for the nonconformists. You know, the Methodists, the Catholics, Baptists and so forth. Nowadays I suspect there is no such demarcation. Just makes it more convenient if there's two funerals in quick succession. This is a huge tomb with the iron railing still around it, right at the front of the graveyard next to the chapel, most prominent position. So presumably it's one of the local landowners or aristocracy. Unfortunately, the inscription is impossible to read. The moss and general wear and tear have made the name of this very important person impossible to decipher. Nearby, another very large and expensive tomb. The inscription on this one is very clear to read. We've got Henry Marsh Watts, 1891, 1877. Now it must be 1801, 1877. Elizabeth, his widow, 1810 to 1869, and Henry Shorland Watts, their oldest son, and his widow Elizabeth. Now behind those two chapels of rest, it's even more garden-like. Wonderful trees, mature trees, and beautifully kept grass. A park-like scene. One of the best kept cemeteries I've seen. A very elaborate, yet reasonably recent grave, modern grave, still obviously looked after with the coloured flowers, silk flowers, but still shows the grave is cared for. If we move forward for the inscription, Eliza, wife of Horace Hughes, 1960, and then we've got Horace Hughes on the other side. And here we have two angels, one male, one female. Very unusual to see a male angel. Although of course I guess the angel Gabriel in the Bible must have been a male angel, but mostly we depict them as women. Nearby, another one, and this is Liberty, the beloved husband of Betsy Hughes. Now that's quite an unusual first name, Liberty Hughes. Close by are some very recent graves, just fresh earth on those four, and on the other side of the path, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 new graves. So very much open, this cemetery. You can still finish your time here. Another one of the white angels, and a grave that's clearly looked after. And well, that is interesting. If I look at the inscription, Betsy, the beloved wife of Liberty Hughes. Now we had Liberty Hughes over the other side of the path, so it looks like they are not buried together, but in very similar graves. Another war grave, this time from the Second World War, and it's Private A. Tucker, Devonshire Regiment, 1944. No age given on this one. Another one clearly much cared for, beautifully decorated with the silk flowers, and if we look at the back, it's another Hughes, Priscilla Hughes, wife of Maurice Hughes. A little further on is a garden of remembrance for the war graves. Around 30 memorials in this small area with the hedge around it. Just a couple taken at random. Captain J.C. Knight, 66th Searchlight Regiment, Royal Artillery, the Gloucesters, TA Territorial Army, 1944, aged 49. And here we have Private A.J. Butler, Pioneer Corps, 1945, aged 30. And I must show you this one at the back, a little bit different. Lieutenant P. Biles, the Royal Indian Army Service Corps, 1945. As I move further into the graveyard, it is still so well maintained. Grass looking very good, very well cared for. If there's curbstones, they filled them with wood chippings to keep the weeds down. This must rate as one of the best kept cemeteries that I've visited throughout the UK. Well done, Yeovil. A little different in design. A very large slab of stone. Possibly a little too heavy for the ground as it's starting to tilt very slightly to the left. The wife of W. Stanley Johnson, died 1943, and then Walter Stanley Johnson, 1980. Just show you the stone itself. As you can see, it's a triangular slab. A lot of the newer graves here in this area. Let's have a look and see if we can find some with interesting images or inscriptions. Well, Geoffrey Richard Burlinson, loving dad, granddad and great-granddad, clearly had a particular interest. On the top of the stone here you see this steam railway engine travelling at high speed, and that tells us a little bit more about him than words can. Anthony Rodney David Clark, known as Tony, he has a motorcycle on the top of his stone, and close inspection shows that the badge on the tank is a Norton. Another motorcyclist, Paul Howard, known as Fred Farrand, who died aged 40, unexpectedly taken from us. And a picture of a performance motorcycle on the top. One does hope that the unexpectedly taken from us is not linked to the motorcycle. This is to Adrian Brian Boole, age 23. We miss you, Aid. And there's a mini badge to the left and a picture of a mini car in rallying get-up. So one assumes that that was his interest in life, rallying with his mini. This is to Des and Sheila Smith, and at the bottom you see we have a cricket bat, a ball and some wickets. So Des and Sheila Smith, we get a good idea of what your interest was. And this one to Bryce Walter Frost, 1922 to 2002, 80 years old. And at the top we have traditional ploughing with the two horses and the plough and the farmer working behind. Sylvia Jean Victoria Feely, or Feelery. On the left of the stone we see an image of an Alsatian dog. And then, as sadly in all these graveyards, we have a child's grave, and the stone makes it stand out as such. Liam Bremner was just 14 months. And this one to Peter Weenie Banks. His image is on the left here. But the image on the stone I can't quite work out, so I'll leave it to you. I can make out obviously the rose, and on the right hand side is a car exhaust. But the rest of it, for Peter Weenie Banks, is a mystery. And further in still, more memorials, mostly fairly modern ones. Now, if in the background on some of these shots you can hear church bells, well, that's because it's Saturday morning, and I suspect nearby there is a wedding. It's not to do with the graveyard. A very large and expensive memorial with the purple stone chippings and the heart-shaped piece at the back. I can give you a close-up on that one. One of the best men to walk this earth, our dad, Manny Smith, and there he is holding a horse. Now, quite often these large and elaborate graves belong to the traveller community, and he may well be there with his horse that he is one of those. They go in for very elaborate graves. And close by, it's always nice to see something different. Love the typeface on this and the colouring. This is to Scammell's from 1974 up to 2014. But it just stands out, a little bit distinctive. One here that tells us a little bit about Bruce James, age 76. You'll see at the top there is the badge, the insignia for Yeovil Town Football Club. Now, I'm at the other end of the graveyard from when we last saw the name Liberty Hughes. Yet on this elaborate memorial at the back we have the distinctive name Liberty Junior Hughes, and he's son of Liberty Hughes. And if you look down towards the front of the grave, there is a stone image of a Ford pickup truck and a picture of the gentleman himself. So this is another one of the Hughes family. Over by the fence is one to Timothy John Snell, 1992. And they've put the image of a coach on the stone. Possibly he was a coach driver or a coach owner, or possibly just enjoyed taking coach trips. A very touching inscription on this one, Leslie Howard Penny. And then on the right hand side we have to my dad, a man I loved, whose competence and abilities I admired, whose struggle I watched during the latter years and days, and above all, whose presence, relationship and love I would not have missed for the whole world. This one to Andrew John Stone, just 28 years. Down at the bottom left hand corner we have an image of somebody playing football. Above that we have a coat of arms. And across to the right we have a old style cannon. That's to Andrew John Stone. My eye's taken to the back of these two large stones. This one has a lot of horseshoes, horses jumping and dogs. If I pan to the right, very similar imagery. Let's go around the front and have a look at the inscriptions. Well, straight away on this one we see the gypsy caravan being pulled by a horse. So this is one of the travelling families. The main inscription doesn't give a surname, but down lower down I did see the name Franklin. And the second one actually gives us a surname of Daisy Frankham. I probably misread the first one. Daisy Frankham, and again more pictures of horses. And a little further along, another large one, Treasured Memories of Annie Isaacs. And it's in this red stone, very expensively done. One here to a young man, 16 years old, Daniel Warner, who died a hero and cruelly taken. And there's just a picture of a typical teenage lad. Daniel Warner. Now there's a whole story on this stone. You can see the shamrock and the harp at the top. Joseph Lawrence. Joe was born in Ireland with cerebral palsy. And if I can close up and read the story, he was given a life expectancy of 15 years. He only walked age 7 after his father took him to St. Columcille's Well in Dublin. There he drank and bathed in the waters. From that day until his death, his feet remained as smooth as a baby's. He was active until his early 60s. His faith and determination saw him fight ill health in his later years, to live until the age of 69. Joseph Lawrence. This one to Frank, the beloved and only son, F and N Rose, who was killed by enemy action October the 7th, 1940, 17 years and 9 months. Their only son. Over in this corner of the cemetery is an area reserved for the children. Always the most poignant and saddest part of a churchyard. This one to Kevin Stephen Fuller, 1967, 5 years and 9 months. And beneath that is Paul, age 27. So many of them. This is Stephen Allen Palfreyman, just 7 weeks. Leanne Williams, just 7 days. One here to Joanne Timothy Hawkes, just 5 weeks old. I'm going to call it a day. This is quite a remarkable cemetery. It's more like a park. It's been looked after like you wish all cemeteries could be looked after. I would certainly recommend a visit to Yeovil. Come here and enjoy this cemetery. Till the next time.